Have you ever watched a performance and felt like you were seeing music itself come to life? That's what we're diving into today, an art form that's as ancient as civilization itself, Indian classical dance. It's so much more than just beautiful movements. It's a full-blown language of storytelling, a spiritual practice that's been evolving for thousands of years. So what exactly makes it so powerful?
You know, this quote just nails it. It's about making music visible. The dancer literally becomes the music, turning every note and emotion into something you can see and feel. It's an incredibly intricate language. But how do you even begin to speak a language like that? Well, like any language, you've got to learn the grammar.
And believe it or not, this particular language has a grammar book, a foundational text that's literally thousands of years old.
This is it, the Natya Shastra. You can think of it as the ultimate rule book, the encyclopedia for all of India's performing arts. A wise sage named Bharata wrote it all down, covering everything from dance and drama to music and even aesthetics. It's basically the source code for almost every classical dance form we see today.
So, the Natya Shastra breaks it all down into two fundamental ideas. On one hand, you have Nritta. This is pure dance, it's all about rhythm, energy, and just the sheer beauty of movement itself. Here, the dance is the message. But on the other hand, you have Abhinaya. This is where the storytelling comes in. It's the art of expression, of using gestures and facial expressions to convey a story or an emotion. And of course, a true master has to be brilliant at both.
Okay, so we have this ancient book, right? That tells us the theory is old. But what about the practice? How do we know that dance itself was a huge part of Indian culture even before this book was ever written?
Well, the proof is actually cast in bronze. Take a look at this. This is the famous dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro. We're talking about a figurine that's nearly 4,500 years old. And just look at her pose. That's not a random stance, that's confidence, that's attitude. That tells you that even way back then, dance was already a sophisticated, important art form.
So let's just trace this incredible history. It all starts in that early period, with clues in prehistoric caves and ancient artifacts. Then we move into the second period, where everything gets written down and codified in the Natya Shastra. And suddenly, you see dance poses carved all over temples. And finally, from the 10th century on, that's when things really crystallize into the distinct regional styles that we recognize as classical dance today.
I love this quote because it really gets to the heart of it. Think about it. Dance is an art form that disappears the second it's performed, right? So how do you keep a record of it? You can't just write it down in a history book. You have to carve it into stone. These sculptors, they were the first historians of dance, freezing these beautiful, fleeting moments for all time.
So you take all that history, spread it across a vast and diverse subcontinent, and what do you get? An absolutely stunning variety of dance styles. There are many officially recognized classical forms, but for now, let's dive into three of the really big ones.
All right, first up, Bharatanatyam. This one is a giant. It comes from the temples of southern India and is widely seen as the oldest classical form that's still being practiced today. And there's a mountain of evidence in ancient sculptures and texts to back that claim up. It was really polished into the solo art we know now back in the 19th century.
A Bharatanatyam performance isn't just random dancing, it's a journey, and it builds. It starts with Alaripu, a piece of pure rhythmic dance. Then comes Jatiswaram, which weaves in more complex patterns. With Subdam, the storytelling, that Abhinaya we talked about, starts to appear. And it all leads to the main event, the Varnam. That's the centerpiece, the most complex part, where the dancer has to masterfully blend powerful, pure dance with subtle, emotional storytelling.
Okay, let's head north now for a totally different vibe, Kathak. The clue was right there in the name. Kathak is a Sanskrit word that means story. So you can probably guess, this dance began with ancient groups of traveling storytellers.
If you've ever seen Kathak, the first things you'll notice are the lightning-fast footwork and these incredible, breathtaking spins. It started out as a form of devotion in temples, but it really took off in the royal courts of North India. That's where it got all that spectacular flair and grace. But even with all the showmanship, it always stayed true to its mission, telling a great story.
Now for something completely different, let's travel all the way south to Kerala to find a style that is just pure theatrical power, Kathakali. This isn't just dance, folks. It's a full-on dance drama. The name says it all. Katha for story and Kali for drama.
Kathakali is just, wow, it's one of a kind. Traditionally, it was performed only by men who played all the roles, male and female. And get this, the dancers themselves are completely silent. They use these unbelievably detailed hand gestures and facial expressions to act out epic stories that are being sung by vocalists. And of course, you can't miss the spectacular, symbolic makeup, which is like a code that tells you exactly who you're looking at, a god, a demon, or a hero.
So you might be thinking, these are fascinating ancient traditions, maybe like something you'd see in a museum. But you'd be wrong. These are vibrant, living, breathing art forms, and they're very much a part of the world today.
You know, these art forms actually faced a real risk of fading away. But in the early 20th century, something amazing happened. As India was moving toward independence, there was this huge surge of national pride, a cultural reawakening. Visionaries worked tirelessly to research and revive these dances, to adapt them for the modern stage, and to make sure they wouldn't just survive, but thrive.
And did all that hard work pay off? Oh, absolutely. Today, you can see these incredible dance forms celebrated on stages all over the world, from London to San Francisco. They're a vital part of India's cultural identity for sure, but they're also a huge attraction for people from everywhere, offering a powerful window into this incredibly rich artistic soul.
So for thousands of years, this art has carried the great stories of gods and goddesses, of heroes and villains, of love and of war. It's a living testament to the power of art to speak to us across centuries. Which leaves you with a pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? As this living language continues to grow and evolve, what new stories will it choose to tell in the centuries to come?